Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria Q. Kane.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mother Knows Death. Labor Day is next week, so I guess that means we are officially wrapping up summer. So let's talk about some summertime specific injuries. First, we're going to talk about our favorite baseball team, the Philadelphia Phillies, and an emergency surgery one of our star pitchers had to have last week. Then we'll talk about the dangers of hot tubs, the dangers of peeing in the pool, and the phenomenon known as summer penis. All that and more on today's episode. Let's get started with Zack Wheeler.
All right, so 2 weeks ago, he was put on the IL, which to everybody was like, are you serious? Because we're doing like pretty good right now.
And he's like our best pitcher too.
He's our best pitcher. You know, we used to at least have like Nola last year, but he's slipping a little bit. But like,
no, we have good pitchers this year though.
Yeah, I mean, last year this would have been totally fatal to the rest of the season. I mean, it's still gonna take it. They're still gonna take a hit with it. But he went on the IL for a blood clot, and now it came out that he needs surgery for venous thoracic outlet syndrome. What is this?
Normally, when we hear that a person has a blood clot, my first question is why? Because normal people that are healthy do not get blood clots. Certainly people that are 35 years old, like Zack Wheeler. So when we think about this, like, oftentimes people get blood clots that they might have cancer, they might have a clotting disorder, they might be on a certain medication that causes their blood to clot. And most commonly that occurs in the deep veins of the legs. And the reason that is it could be really a deadly pathology to have is because that blood clot could travel to the lungs and it could get caught in the lungs and it could cause a person to drop dead. Well, a similar thing can happen if you have blood clots in any other area of the body too. And he had one in one of the vessels in his upper arm. Now, this is a very unusual location. So you're going to be like, okay, it's already unusual that he has a blood clot. And then he also has a blood clot in one of the veins in his arm. So obviously that is due to something. So I believe, they haven't really said this, but I believe that he has a condition that's called Paget-Schroeder syndrome. And that is a specific clotting disorder that is seen specifically in baseball players or any kind of athlete that uses their dominant arm. And when you have that, what happens is it's similar to what Maria said in the article, that they said he has thoracic outlet syndrome, because what happens is when you're using your arm and you're doing these repetitive throws of throwing balls that are almost 100 miles an hour all of the time, the scalene muscles of the arm begin to get bigger, and they get bigger than they would get in an average person that's just using their arm in a normal way. And what happens is that those blood vessels and nerves that are going from the chest to the arm, they get squeezed in this little tight area because the muscle is too big. And it could affect that nerve that's going through there, and it could affect that blood vessel that's going through there. And that's what happened in the case with Zack Wheeler, that the blood vessel was getting kind of kinked, and it was causing the blood to start clotting up, and eventually it formed clots there. Now, this was considered an emergency surgery when they realized that he had this. And I'm actually wondering how quickly this came on, because if you recall, he started falling off a little bit right before this diagnosis, which is interesting to me. So they have to address this immediately, because they don't want that blood clot to travel to his lungs, because it could literally kill him. So that was an emergency surgery that they had to do called thrombolysis, which was to get rid of the clot. And now they're saying that they need to do another surgery, which I assume, they haven't said this, is that they're going to be removing his first rib in order to take this compression off.
Wow.
And that's why they're saying that he's going to be out for 6 to 8 months, because he has to have this surgery for this thoracic outlet syndrome. So they remove the rib, so there's breathing room again for that blood vessel and for those muscles that are bigger in a pitcher. Now, the good news is with Zack Wheeler is that it appears that he only had this blood clot in the vessel, but the nerve that goes, because all of the nerves and the blood vessels and in your body, like veins, arteries, and nerves, they piggyback each other, so they're all close together. The good news is that his nerve seems to be okay, which would make us a little worried when he comes back that he might not be able to ever throw like he did before again. But since it only appears to be that his blood vessel was damaged in this, that's something that is it has a more positive outcome. So I'm hoping that just when he comes back next season after he heals from having this surgery done, that he'll be all good to go again for our Phillies.
Yeah, but I guess depending on how the surgery goes, he might not even come back to the middle of next season.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about getting the bone, I actually have a case of this in my book for thoracic outlet syndrome, and a young female who also she was a cheerleader and she was lifting people above her head, right? So this same thing, the repetitive motion with the arm. And she had to have the surgery, and the picture in the book is really cool because she has a picture of her first rib like in her hand. That's the picture from the book. And yes, it will take a while for him to heal from that. And this is all very like a kind of a stressful situation for his family. I think he just had a baby like a month ago.
Yeah,
right?
they
not
just
too
had a
long
baby
ago.
recently.
Yeah, so I feel bad for his wife, especially, obviously, because I know that that's just a lot to go through. But he'll be fine. I mean, he has the best doctors ever taking care of him and stuff. It's just like he just has to heal, and that's it. So he could go on to win that Cy Young Award that he was looking to get this year.
Well, I'm sure the organization is stoked because this is the first year of his 3-year, $126 million extension. So they
Maybe
don't
I
have.
don't feel so bad for his wife. You know what? I lied. I'm taking that back.
I mean, with that money, though, he could get the best care in the world. And obviously, the team is going to make sure he's getting the best care in the world. But I'm sure they're not stoked he's not going to be around for the rest of this year if they get to playoffs next year, if he was eligible to go to the All-Star game, which we're hosting as well. Maybe he could be back in time for the Field of Dream games, which is apparently Gabe's dream game ever. So we'll see.
All right, let's talk about these old ladies that got stuck in the hot tub.
All right, so a group of women in their 80s were staying at a remote cabin in Kentucky. They go in the hot tub, but after a while, 2 of the women can't get out and had to be rescued. So I was under the assumption, which is, I guess, mean and judgmental of me, that they just couldn't get up because they were older and they couldn't physically get out. But that's not really what was going on here.
Well, I was just having this conversation with someone that was at our house this weekend because we have a hot tub attached to the pool, and someone said to me, "Oh, does your dad go in there? It's probably really good for his arthritis and stuff." And I'm like, "No, actually, he went in there once and he got in very easily, and then he couldn't get out, and it was really hard for like we all had to lift him out, right?
Yeah.
Like Gabe, like a fireman, had to get him out of the hot tub." Now, think about a bunch of old ladies like getting into a hot tub and possibly not being able to get out, but they weren't able to get all of them out, and there was a point where they were overheating and starting to show signs of hyperthermia, and some of the women had to go in and try to prevent their bodies from slipping down underneath of the water until first responders got there. It just sounds like it was a really scary situation, and then the first responders got there and pulled them out and put them under cold water, and were putting ice on them to warm their body or to cool their bodies down, which was really smart thinking on their part instead of just throwing them in the ambulance and bringing them to the hospital.
Yeah, I was thinking how hard, depending, I don't know how mountainous this region is or anything. I was thinking of when we go to like Gatlinburg, how like crazy those roads are getting up to some of the houses if the rescue is maybe delayed because of that. I also think it's kind of cool that a bunch of women in their 80s went on like a girls' trip.
I was thinking that too. I was like, this is so cool, but it is something to think about because I'm telling you, like it happened to my dad. Like because getting into the hot tub, it was like sitting on a ledge and then pulling yourself down, right? Which is easier than pulling yourself up.
Yeah.
And like, I think if that was, let's say that was just me and my dad one afternoon, I would have had to call 911. Like, I wouldn't have been able to get him out. Thank God Gabe was there. I wouldn't have, like, this could have happened to anyone. And it's also just important to note as far as the hot tubs too, that a lot of people don't realize that you're only supposed to stay in them for like 20 minutes. They're very hot. 100 and mine goes up to 104 degrees.
Well, let me tell you how I'd like to sit in one for like 2 hours, which is like not
Everyone
good.
would. That's the problem though, and you could really have hyperthermia, and it's really not good to raise your body temperature that high. And even like with the kids, I lower it I think the lowest I could put it is like 99 degrees, which is still kind of high. But in 20 minutes, I'm like, you guys got to get out, and then like I let them go. I go in the pool for a little bit, and then go back in, because you really shouldn't have children have their body temperature raised that high either.
This episode is brought to you by The Gross Room.
Guys, tomorrow is our YouTube live. Make sure you check that out. We also have a couple interesting cases in the gross room. One was a person that was attacked by a dog and killed, and one was a person that was accidentally killed getting a medical procedure done, which is super scary. So we get into that. All that and more in the gross room. Check out our live tomorrow.
Yeah, head over to thegrossroom.com now for access info. Since summer is coming to an end, let's talk about peeing in pools.
So a survey was done that 40 American adults admitted to peeing in the pool, which, like, I don't know. Do you think that that's like a little outrageous for grown-ups?
Yeah, as adults, because I'm like, I 100% did when I was a little kid, but I haven't as an adult. But also, like, it's not, if it was my pool that I owned, I might feel differently about it, but I'm not going to go to somebody else's house and do it. It's kind of rude.
I like I guess I'm going to sound like a hypocrite right now, but like if you like peeing in the ocean, I told one of my kids to do it when we were on the beach last week, because there's no porta potties or anything. There's nowhere to go to the bathroom unless you're just like one of the fortunate ones that could own a house anywhere near the beach, which we certainly are not. So like, where are they going to go? Otherwise, we have to get in the car and like drive 20 blocks to get to Wawa to go to the bathroom. Like, go in the ocean, fine. But when you're at a pool, it's a pool is at a pool like a public pool or a pool club or a house. There's always a toilet nearby, right? It's just kind of laziness to not get out and go to the bathroom.
Yeah, I mean, I understand
it's just,
if
for
you
an
don't.
adult, it's just kind of like, why?
I kind of understand it because it's like a laziness component. Also, like, there truly is not a grosser feeling than going in the bathroom and trying to peel like a wet bathing suit off of your body.
It does suck. Listen, like, especially my house, because my house is so old, I keep it freezing cold just so the upstairs is tolerable at night. When you come in this house out of the pool to pee, your bathing suit's soaking wet. It's hard to get down, and it's like 0 degrees. It's the most uncomfortable thing ever. Plus, it leaves wet butt cheeks on the toilet seat. There's water all over. But listen, I would prefer people to just come in my house and make a mess instead of peeing in the pool, because it's just really gross. But wait till you hear the statistic, because it's really disgusting. So this journal called Environmental Science and Technology Letters analyzed water samples from 31 pools and hot tubs and discovered that 220,000 gallon pool contained about 20 gallons of pee. Like, ew. Think about that next time you're in a public pool, or maybe even a private pool, and like swallowing water. It's really disgusting. But so what happens is the chemicals that are present in our urine can have a chemical reaction with chlorine, which puts off a gas. So that's why sometimes they say, like, when you're at Great Wolf Lodge, the worst place on the planet, by the way, when you smell that really strong, heavy chlorine smell, it could be because there's more pee than average. Like, it's the fumes that are coming off. Yeah. And also, I mean, like, that place is contained. There has to be some kind of ventilation, but it's not that good. But you've been to places where like you're like, this shit is burning my eyes. It's so strong, and they say that happens because of pee.
That is
like
disgusting.
It is really disgusting. But like, from a biological standpoint, pee is usually sterile and doesn't really have anything in it super infectious if you're just like an average person. So it's not like if you get some in your mouth or whatever, it's not really going to make you sick. We've talked about this before with people like peeing in water coolers or whatever people are doing. But like it's gross. It's just a lot different when you're talking about like pooping in a pool, because poop does carry bacteria that could make people sick.
I mean, listen, if you're pooping in the pool, you got a problem. Like, I could understand people wanting to pee in the pool and thinking it'll like kind of work itself out. Pooping in a pool is absolutely disgusting behavior.
Yeah, but like little, like for an adult, it absolutely is. But like for like a child though, that's like 3, like a turd might just slip out. You don't know. They don't.
I hope
They don't
not.
really they don't understand that. So yeah. All right, let's wrap this up with summer penis.
All right, there's a newer phenomenon called summer penis. So like what is this exactly?
There's not like much medical evidence for it to say exactly what's going on, but they like to describe it as being similar to, and you could relate to this, like especially in the summer. It's like in the summer, my wedding ring is so tight on my hand, like I couldn't even get it off right now if I tried. My hands are just swollen in the summer. And then in the winter, especially when I'm outside in the cold, like my ring almost falls off. I'm scared I'm going to lose it because my hands are so thin. And it's probably just a similar mechanism of like the blood vessels dilating when they're warmer and shrinking when they're smaller. And we also know that with men, because their testicles hold the sperm and they need to be at a very certain temperature. So if they get too warm, then the balls hang low. And if they get too cold, then the balls shrink up, right? I actually like, it's kind of like that Seinfeld episode, right? With the like, I was in the pool.
Yeah.
That's why it looks little. So, I have a really cool video. This is like not really the same thing, but same thing. One of the first videos I ever posted in the gross room was called Shrinkage, if you search it in there. And it's like this experiment that I don't know if it's a couple or whatever, but it's not a medical video by any means. And this guy like cut a hole in his pants and his balls are hanging out, and they show how they like hang and then retract like and go up and shrink up. It's like so cool to watch. 'Cause like a guy probably knows that happens, but like we don't have balls, so we're not like observing what they do all day. But it is very interesting that the sperm like to keep a certain temperature, and that's how they do it, by like retracting up and down like that. So if it's hot and your balls are hanging low, like it's gonna make your junk look bigger too, right?
I mean, I truly could not ignore the one quote from this article, which was, "In the summer, my dick tends to be consistently larger when I look in the mirror, and my biggest measurements have been taken in the summer." Why are men so obsessed with measuring their dick?
It's so bizarre. It really
Like,
is
women
bizarre.
aren't there measuring their labes or their boobs. Like, so like it's such weird behavior.
We don't have like, well, yeah, but listen, there's plenty of women that are obsessed with what size their boobs are. Like,
who cares? You are what you
people-
are. Who cares?
Listen, the penis measurement thing is a thing. We've talked about this multiple times on this show.
It starts with loving yourself.
It's
it
actually-
shouldn't matter.
It's actually bizarre that it's done so many times that like a guy could actually notice if he's bigger at a certain time of year because of the temperature. Like, what is it, millimeters? Like, it's just so bizarre.
And what is the difference? It's just like, why are you wasting your time?
It
It's
makes
so
him feel like
weird.
more of a man. That's the difference.
Well, it's definitely an interesting theory, I guess, but let's keep pouring all the money into research over things like this and not helping women with
It's very
problems they have.
important. Hair loss is not important. Cancer is not important. Endometriosis is not important. This is very important.
This is so important. Okay, guys, we are going to be in at CrimeCon in Denver next week. We are so excited. Please head over to Apple and Spotify, leave us a review, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you have a story for us, submit it to stories@motherknowsdeath.com.
See you guys. Have a good Labor Day weekend. Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor, and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day, and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.